Iron Widow by Xiran Jay Zhao. In a futuristic world inspired by ancient Huaxia, humanity is besieged by alien mecha-beasts known as Hunduns. To defend their territories beyond the Great Wall, humans pilot giant, transforming mechas called Chrysalises, powered by the combined life force, or chi, of a boy-girl pair. However, the system is deeply flawed and fatal for women. The male pilot almost always drains the female concubine-pilot's mind, killing her to achieve maximum combat power. 18-year-old Wu Zetian, a girl burdened by the agonizing pain of mangled, bound lotus feet, possesses a fiercely defiant spirit. Sitting in a lush forest, she has her unibrow plucked by Yizhi, an 18-year-old boy with flawless pale skin and pristine white silk robes. Yizhi is wealthy, gentle, and deeply devoted to Zetian, but she rejects his romantic advances to reveal a shocking, suicidal plan. She is intentionally enlisting as a concubine-pilot for Yang Guang, a top-tier pilot who is handsome and boyish with a dimpled smile. Zetian knows that Yang Guang's charming facade hides a monster who murdered her older sister, and she fully intends to assassinate him in revenge. Returning to her abusive, greedy family, Zetian departs for the Kaihuang watchtower. During her physical tests, her spirit pressure is measured at an astonishing 624, far exceeding the human average of 84. She soon meets Yang Guang and feigns compliance, but before she can physically strike, a sudden Hundun attack forces them into his chrysalis, the colossal nine-tailed fox. Once hooked into the mecha's spinal needles, their minds link. Instead of succumbing to his mental dominance, Zetian fights back. Inside Yang Guang's mind realm, a humid, terrifying jungle filled with fleshy fruits containing the trapped, screaming memories of his abused concubines, Zetian's rage makes her unstoppable. She overpowers Yang Guang, strangling his spirit form and seizing total control of the nine-tailed fox. Flooding the machine with her own metal-white chi, she pushes the chrysalis into an incredible humanoid heroic form and annihilates the invading Hundun herd. Upon returning to the base, Zetian emerges from the cockpit, drops Yang Guang's lifeless corpse at her feet, and screams to the hovering camera drones, "Welcome to your nightmare!" Zetian is immediately apprehended and interrogated by top army strategist Zhu Zhiliang, a calm man wielding a white feather fan, and Sima Yi, a hot-tempered commander with a crooked mouth. They reveal that Zetian is an Iron Widow, a rare female capable of overpowering and killing her male partner. Because her power is too valuable to execute, they pair her with the only boy whose spirit pressure dwarfs hers, Shimin. Shimin is a 19-year-old half-Rongdi outcast with a towering, muscular physique, intense charred black eyes, and wild short hair. Convicted of murdering his own father and brothers, he is treated like a rabid beast, escorted in a bright orange jumpsuit, a heavy steel muzzle, and a chain leash. Thrown together into the strongest chrysalis, the vermilion bird, Zetian and Shimin's minds clash violently in a mental realm of blistering fire and falling swords. Neither yields to the other. As a result, the chrysalis deforms into a hideous, uncontrollable monster. Miraculously, however, both survive the battle, proving they possess uniquely hyper-adaptive spirits. The army confines Zetian and Shimin to a cramped concrete bunker to train as a permanent pair. Zetian quickly realizes that Shimin is not the unfeeling demon the media portrays. He is a traumatized, severely alcoholic boy who drinks to numb the immense guilt of the girls who have died in his cockpit. He confides the dark truth behind his crimes. He murdered his family members because he caught them brutally assaulting an innocent girl. Zetian's perspective shifts from hostility to empathy. Their fragile peace is interrupted when a vengeful pilot attempts to strangle Zetian in her sleep. She is saved by Yizhi, who has snuck into the military base disguised as a student strategist. Deeply in love with Zetian, Yizhi insists on staying to protect her. Together, Zetian and Yizhi help Shimin endure the agonizing physical withdrawals of detoxing from his severe alcohol addiction, forging a deep, undeniable bond between the three of them. To gain political leverage and avoid being executed by the army, the trio strikes a deal with Yizhi's father, Gao Chu. Gao Chu is a sleazy, ruthless media mogul with feline eyes who leverages his immense wealth to control the narrative. In a horrific display of power, he forces Zetian to strip naked to sign their contract, a deep humiliation she silently files away for future vengeance. Funded by Gao Chu, Zetian and Shimin receive a lavish match-crowning ceremony in the capital city of Chang'an. By leaning into a highly provocative vixen and bad boy media persona, they monopolize public attention and generate massive profits. While in the capital, Zetian brings her family out of the frontier, but bitterly realizes they still only care about her brother's success, cementing her ultimate detachment from them. Upon returning to the Great Wall, the trio faces cruel mistreatment from Enlishan, a pot-bellied, sadistic chief strategist. Enlishan attempts to force Shimin into an immediate, exhausted deployment by dangling a bottle of liquor in front of him, mocking his addiction. Outraged by this cruelty, Zetian and Shimin ambush Enlishan in the dead of night, strapping him to a tilt table and brutally waterboarding him with the very liquor he used as bait. Under torture, Enlishan confesses a world-shattering secret: girls are not naturally weaker in spirit pressure. The Chrysalis yin seats are intentionally engineered to dampen female input, guaranteeing that the boys survive at the girls' expense. Sickened by this systemic slaughter, Zetian and Shimin drown Enlishan and vow to broadcast his recorded confession to the world. That night, finding ultimate solace and strength in one another, Zetian, Yizhi, and Shimin solidify their relationship into a deeply devoted polyamorous triad, vowing to dismantle the oppressive world together. The army finally launches a massive counterattack to reclaim the lost Zhou province. Zetian and Shimin pilot the Vermilion Bird, joined secretly in the cockpit by Yizhi, who acts as a chi battery. They march alongside other elite Chrysalises, including the White Tiger, piloted by the fierce Xianbei girl Dugu Qialuo and her prince-general partner Yang Jian, and the Black Tortoise, piloted by the broad-faced, soft-spoken Ma Shuying and her burly former monk partner Zhu Yuanzhang. Deep in enemy territory, they encounter an unprecedented threat: an Emperor-class metal Hundun that spins razor-sharp webs and shockingly communicates telepathically, screaming, "Humans, scourge of the universe, leave us alone!" As they struggle to process this, a second Emperor-class Hundun, made of shifting water, ambushes the army. Pushing the Vermilion Bird to its absolute limits, Zetian, Shimin, and Yizhi obliterate the metal Emperor. Exhausted and vulnerable, they turn to the Black Tortoise for support. In a horrifying betrayal, Shuying and Zhu Yuanzhang rip off the Vermilion Bird's wing. Weeping, Shuying reveals the army holds their children hostage, and they were ordered to eliminate Zetian and Shimin to prevent them from seizing political power. As the crippled Vermilion Bird plummets into a sea of fire, Shimin realizes they cannot all survive. Using the last of his strength, he forcefully ejects Zetian and Yizhi from the cockpit. Shimin stays behind to pilot the dying Chrysalis alone, holding off the Water Emperor to buy them time. Helpless in the smoky air, Zetian watches Yizhi's wristlet monitor in utter devastation as Shimin's heart rate plummets to zero. Crushed by grief and burning with an apocalyptic rage, Zetian remembers a rumor about the legendary first pilot, Emperor Qin Zheng. Guided by a local nomad, she unearths the millennia-old yellow dragon Chrysalis buried beneath a nearby mountain. Inside the golden cockpit, the cadaver-pale Emperor Qin Zheng sits frozen in stasis, his face heavily scarred by flowerpox. Zetian revives him with an antiviral injection from Yizhi's emergency kit. Asserting absolute dominance, she forces the ancient emperor into the dampening yin seat and takes the controlling yang seat for herself. Empowered by the godlike yellow dragon, Zetian easily annihilates the Water Emperor Hundun and slaughters the treacherous Black Tortoise, crushing Shuying and Zhu Yuanzhang to death without hesitation. Instead of returning to the army, Zetian flies the colossal yellow dragon straight to Chang'an. Hovering over the Palace of Sages, she demands total capitulation. The sages attempt to manipulate her by holding her abusive family hostage in the courtyard, begging her to spare them. Realizing her family would happily sacrifice her all over again to save her favored brother, Zetian coldly tells them they are in her way and crushes the entire palace with the dragon's giant claw. Meanwhile, Gao Chu arrives in a hovercraft, attempting to blackmail Zetian with the nude footage he forced her to film. Unfazed, Yizhi steps out onto the dragon's snout and uses his own latent wood chi to electrocute his corrupt father to death. With their oppressors eradicated and Gao Chu's corporate empire inherited by Yizhi, he loudly proclaims Zetian the Iron Widow to the kneeling, terrified masses below, and the two prepare to rule Huaxia on their own terms. In the epilogue, Zetian returns to the scarred battlefield in Zhou to recover Shimin's body, only to find the vermilion bird's cockpit completely empty. Yizhi contacts her frantically over the comms, revealing that his people recovered classified documents in the palace rubble that prove their higher history is a lie. Humans are not native to this planet. Humanity is the alien invader, and the Hunduns are the indigenous species desperately trying to expel them. Suddenly, Zetian's screen is hijacked by the heavenly court, the elusive gods orbiting in the sky. They issue a chilling ultimatum in stark white text: submit to their rule and act as their new sages or lose everything. The screen cuts to a horrific live feed of a cylindrical tank. Inside, Shimin's severed head and bare, beating lungs are suspended in bubbling fluid, kept artificially alive by a jungle of tubes. The story ends with Zetian screaming in visceral horror.